will lead the Commerce Department? Also, what does the Commerce Department do?
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Progressive Insurance. On the road and at home, customers can simplify their insurance needs and protect what's important by bundling home and auto with Progressive Insurance. Learn more about Progressive and bundling at progressive.com.
From Marketplace, I'm Sabri Benishore, in for David Brancaccio. President-elect Donald Trump's search for a Treasury Secretary is continuing, but he's settled on a pick for Commerce Secretary. Marketplace's Nancy Marshall-Genzer joins us now live. Hi, Nancy.
Hey, Sabri.
So President-elect Trump has announced he wants Cantor Fitzgerald CEO Howard Lutnick to head up the Commerce Department. What do we know about him?
Well, he's co-chair of Trump's transition team. He also helped raise a lot of money for President-elect Trump. He's a populist who's spoken out on tariffs.
When was America great? This is 1900, 125 years ago. We had no income tax. And all we had was tariffs.
And if he is confirmed by the Senate, what would Lutnick be responsible for as head of Commerce?
Well, Commerce is a sprawling government agency, Sabri. It counts the U.S. population every 10 years during the census. And of course, it's very involved in trade policy and restrictions on exports of U.S. technology to China.
And Lutnick was also considered for Treasury Secretary. What's the latest on the contenders there?
Yeah, Mark Rowan, who's head of Apollo Global Management, is now a top contender. There are reports that he'll meet with Trump today. Hedge fund investor Scott Bessent and former Fed Governor Kevin Warsh are also apparently still in the running.
And what will the main duties of the new Treasury Secretary be?
Well, the Treasury Secretary can serve as a conduit to the Federal Reserve. Also, whoever is chosen will, of course, manage the sale of Treasury bonds to finance our growing national debt.
All right, Marketplace's Nancy Marshall-Genzer, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right, let's do the numbers. Dow, S&P, and NASDAQ futures are all up in the 1 to 0.2% range, with the Dow futures up 75 points. The yield on the 10-year Treasury is 4.430%. 7-Eleven and its parent company 7 & I were founded by Japan's Ito family, and said family is now trying to take the company private. This would be a way of preventing a takeover by a Canadian food company. The family and its investors could, according to reports, raise more than $50 billion to do this by February. 7 & I shares closed up 10% in the U.S. They closed up almost 7% today in Japan.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Schwab, helping people invest in ideas they believe in with Schwab investing themes, with more than 40 themes to choose from. More at schwab.com. And by Bitwarden Password Manager, designed to secure logins from any location on any device over the holidays. Available at bitwarden.com.
So much has changed in the years since the peak of the pandemic, and we're not just talking about working from home. Author and founder of the consulting firm Ferrazzi Greenlight, Keith Ferrazzi, has been doing a lot of work on how organizations can and should shift their mindset for this new era of work. His new book is called Never Lead Alone, 10 Shifts from Leadership to Teamship. My Marketplace colleague David Brancaccio sat down with Ferrazzi for more.
Let's start with a piece of this. You write that we have to elevate collaboration. What gets in the way of elevating collaboration, and how do we fix it?
I think we spend much too much time looking at our leaders. We need to spend more time looking at each other and how we work together. That's the principal idea between moving from a perspective of leadership to a perspective of teamship. You know, a good leader gives feedback, but a great team gives each other feedback. A good leader holds the team accountable, but a great team holds each other accountable. We've got to give the team a real roadmap on how to collaborate effectively and really build transformational outcomes in the world that we're in today.
I know, because you acknowledge this. We haven't changed that much. We're stuck in patterns and ruts. We need some practice in the proper ways to give people the feedback they need.
We looked at 3,000 successful teams and asked the question, what are the most effective practices of those teams? We find that conflict avoidance is one of the most erosive elements of all teams. So the high performing teams, they practice something called a candor break. Somewhere in the middle of a meeting, the team stops and says, okay, go into groups of 2 and ask the question, what's not being said in the room that should be said? The average room of 12 people have 4 people think that they're heard. When you do something like a simple candor break, 10 out of 12 people think that they're heard.
Help me with a couple things, though, Keith. I mean, everybody wants, you call for it in the book, agile teams. But how do you keep a team accountable, right? If it's a group effort, there's sometimes a tendency for no one to take actual responsibility.
Teams that are truly different, they have a different social contract, David. There's a wonderful company that we benchmarked called Elf Beauty. When they recruit a person, the commitment is you will grow further and faster than any other place you could work professionally. But in return, you have to shed your defensiveness. You have to care enough about each other to give the kind of feedback that you know you have each other's back. That's a social contract, and it needs to be solidified.
I mean, as I hear you, Keith, I mean, you're not just trying to make teams better. You're trying to change almost an entire business culture.
The bottom line, David, is yes, I believe our society more than ever before needs to have a collaborative culture and a set of practices to deal with the volatility and the innovation that's in front of us with new technologies like AI. And it makes me sad that we're clinging to very old ways of working born in the industrial era. And so, yes, I'm definitely looking for a much bigger change in organizational thinking, but I'm also hoping that it cascades out and it impacts how we behave as people, as friends, as families, and even as governments.
Keith Ferrazzi's brand new book, Never Lead Alone, 10 Shifts from Leadership to Teamship. Keith, thank you very much.
What a pleasure, David. Great to talk to you.
Marketplace's David Brancaccio there speaking to Keith Ferrazzi about his new book, Never Lead Alone. In New York, I'm Sabri Benishore with the Marketplace Morning Report. From 8 p.m., American Public Media.